Sensational Sundays, HAWKE'S, Tawk, and Squawk, about how I was mocked, ridiculed, and ostracized for being a hoops enthusiast during my Jehovah's Witness wingspan. And as you all know, I'm a hoops enthusiast, hence my basketball videos on this channel. So I was just thinking about how something as innocent as being a hoops fanatic can be such a bad thing amongst the J-Dub organization. You know. Then a few months ago, I posted a video about the time I skipped out of the memorial to attend Michael Jordan's last game, which ironically was played here in Philadelphia against my hometown 76ers. You know, nobody ever found out about that. Because, boy, the smoke that would have ensured if they would have found out about that. But there's been other times I've switched meetings or missed meetings altogether to attend basketball games, being that I was a season ticket holder. And a lot of those times I caught flack. Most notably, one time when we had to switch our theocratic ministry school and service meeting to a Wednesday night because our neighboring congregation had the circuit overseer visit that week. Now, fortunately, during the time I was in with the witnesses, there really was never many home games on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I never really had to do a lot of switching meetings or just skipping a meeting altogether to attend a game. You know, it might, unless it was that rare occasion where one of our neighboring congregations had a circuit overseer visit and we would have to move our meeting day from a Thursday at the time to a Wednesday. Then later, once we switched to the Tuesday night ministry school and service meeting, it would still be Wednesday. So either way, it was only a few occasions I had to do that. Well, there's one particular occasion when we had to switch our meeting to Wednesday. I was working behind the magazine counter. So I let the elder who was in charge, Hollow Man, the one I refer to as Kenji's stink breath sidekick, he oversaw the magazine and the literature counters. So I let him know in advance. I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna be at the meeting Wednesday because I have something to do. No, I just said I won't be able to be at the meeting. And he was like, what's going on? I just told him I had to go to work. I had to work late that night. You know, so he said, okay, you know, I mean, in the future, you know how elders do. When you tell them nothing comes before Jehovah, even your job, your means of livelihood. I mean, even though that wasn't the case, that I had to go to work, but it wasn't none of his business. Don't you know, my mom had the nerve to tell him that I was lying. I don't even remember. Matter of fact, I was home And I had told my mom I had already told the brother that I was going to attend the neighborhood congregations ministry school and service meeting. That way I could hear the circuit brother twice, because we had the circuit overseer visit the week before. You know how they do when the CO comes out, he visits like Kingdom Hall by Kingdom Hall. So if he goes to one Kingdom Hall, they're going to shepherd whatever congregations is in that building. So say it's 3 congregations in that building, then for 3 weeks, the circuit brother and his wife, if he's married, will be attending that Kingdom Hall for that duration. Then they move on to the next Kingdom Hall. You know what I mean? I'm not sure how it works anywhere else, but in Philly, that's how it worked, especially at the time I was in the J-Dubs. But anyway, on the day that our congregation had the Wednesday meeting, you know, I get home from work around my usual time, 3:30. You know, I had already went to the hall the night before. You know, a lot of my homies went to that congregation, so I was never really a stranger when I went there. It always felt at home anyway. So, you know, I go to the game, whatever. I get home that night because we had just so happened they get home about the same time. The game was over about 9:15, 9:30, and that was about the time the meeting let out. So we all happened to get back home about the same time. I get in, I'm hyped up. My Sixers got the win. It was a real good game. I think my boy Iverson went for like 40 that game. So I get home. My mom's like, why'd you tell Brother Smith that you had to work? You know, I played dumb. I'm like, huh? I said, nah. But I was like, I told him, you know what I mean, I work Wednesdays. He was like, yeah, but you didn't tell him that you were going to the game. And then, you know, I get my mom was a type, whenever she called herself scolding me, it wasn't never just no 5 or 10 minutes. She would go on for an hour. Just, you know what I mean, reiterating the same thing. Oh, you lied to the elder. Those are servants of Jehovah. So lying to him is lying to Jehovah and whatever. And she had the nerve to try to make me apologize. In a minute I was lying. I said, no, I'm not doing that. I said, these elders ain't God and they don't own us. You know why I told them I had to work? Because I was trying to avoid, you know what I mean, the same thing that I couldn't avoid now, hearing some long drawn out lecture. You know, it's not my fault that they want to change the meeting times to benefit the circuit overseer. The Overbrook congregation's Theocratic Ministry School and Service meeting is on Wednesday nights. So they should just keep the same schedule whether they had a circuit overseer or not. And I always thought that was redundant anyway, to switch the meetings to Tuesday and Thursday just to benefit the circuit overseer. You know what I mean? So I got to switch my schedule around for his ass. You know, I wasn't cussing like that to my mom, but I basically said it's not right that they got to switch it around. I'm a season ticket holder and no, I wasn't missing this game. And I went to the meeting last night anyway, so I still got my spiritual food for the week. So it's not a big deal. But then she still kept going on about me lying to the brother or whatever. And since I wasn't going to come out and tell him, she went and told him herself that, yeah, I'm sorry that my son lied about having to go to work when he was really at the basketball game. So the next meeting I go to, which was that Sunday, Brother Smith pulls me to the side, calls himself trying to read me a couple of scriptures about being deceitful or whatever. And I said, okay, I apologize for this. I'll apologize for me not being man enough to tell you the truth that, no, I'm going to the meeting Tuesday and I won't be here Wednesday because I'm going to the 76ers game. I apologize for that. Because I shouldn't have felt the need to lie. Then he starts going on, you know how elders like to flex their power. Like, I could pull you from the magazine counter and take your privileges. I said, do what you need to do. That's not going to, slow me down a bit. And he was like, well, you're a great young brother. The friends they love. How you distribute their magazines. That didn't make no sense. How hard is it to give the friends their magazines? But that was like the first instance, the first situation that stood out as far as me being a hoops enthusiast and it getting in the way with going to the meetings. Now, the Sunday meetings is where it would get challenging, and this is why I love the early 9 o'clock Sunday meetings, especially during basketball season. Because at this time, the Sixers was prime time, so we was playing a lot of Sunday afternoon games, like 12:30, 1 o'clock. So that meant I could go to the meeting, leave out by 11:30, drive down to the game. Well, I would usually change after the meeting in the bathroom. They tried to find something wrong with that. Like, oh, you're changing in the outside clothes. Why don't you go home and do that? Because I'm on a schedule. What difference does it make? Would you like it? I could come to the meeting in my basketball game get up instead of wearing my suit and stuff. So, usually I would change after the meeting and then go down to the game. Now, when we had the 12 or 12:30 meetings, that's when I would have to go to the earlier meeting. And again, they found something wrong with that. Like, oh, you're supposed to be at our meeting. Now, there was one instance I did this. I went to the earlier meeting and didn't go to our meeting, and it was a special announcement. So later on that night, my cousin calls me telling me about the announcement, and I'm like, oh wow, whatever. I don't even remember what the announcement was. I hear my uncle in the background, who is an elder. He was like, he would have known if he was at the meeting and not at the Sixer game. So I say, I was at the meeting earlier. He was like, that's not our meeting. I said, okay, well, they should keep our meeting times at 9 o'clock then. I'm not missing no games that I done paid tickets for. So it was just always something. My last 15 or so years, my Sixers haven't been what I wanted them to be, but it's been peaceful as far as not having to worry about switching meeting times and hearing nonsense from my mom and the elders. Let me think, is there any other instance? Now, when I was going to the Northeast congregation, the brothers up there were more lax. The elders anyway, they were more lax than at West Park. Maybe it's because at West Park, I grew up there and they remember me as a youngin' coming up, whereas at Northeast, they knew me as a grown adult. And they were just naturally more relaxed. You know what I mean? So if I would switch meetings or skip a meeting and go to the game, it was never no thing. But at West Park, it was always something. And you know, I was never good when it came to remembering Bible scriptures and memorizing the different literature. It might have been one or two scriptures that I memorized. Shoot. Even the Watchtower studies, there would be stuff that I didn't remember. And I would always get smart remarks like, I bet you if it was basketball statistics, you would know that like the back of your hand. Or I bet you if such and such basketball player asked you something, you would know it. Like, well, I bet you if the 76ers was going to be out in field service, that you would have got up Saturday morning and went out in the ministry. You know what I mean? It was just amusing. But at the time, I didn't really find it funny. Like, it was aggravating. Then there was one time when we did have the circuit overseer. It just so happened to be around the playoffs. And you know how the friends get when the circuit overseer comes. All of a sudden, the friends that you haven't seen in 2 or 3 months show up to every meeting that week. Friends that haven't been out in field service for a year, all of a sudden they're going out in field service every day that week. So after the Sunday meeting, you know, everybody was planning on going out in service. But I was like, nah, I can't make it. This the first 76ers playoff game. And this was back when the teams used to have like the block parties down at the arena a few hours before game time. And remind you, this is before social media. So this is back where you actually met people organically in person. So I had known a lot of fans. A lot of the fans that I know now, I've known them for years. So, you know, I mean, me and a couple of my friends, we was all meeting down there at the block party. You know, I mean, they was barbecuing down there. A lot of people were tailgating. So, you know, the meeting was this. At this time, we had the 12 o'clock meeting. So the meeting was over by 2. And I'm like, nah, I got to run home and change so I could get down there, because fortunately it was a late game. It was an 8 o'clock game. But I wanted to get down there by about 4 o'clock. So one of the friends after the meeting, as I'm, you know, I mean, I'm talking to a few people before I leave, like, oh, you're not going out in field service? I said, nah, I got something to do. And one of the other friends says, yeah, I bet you're going to that playoff game tonight. Oh, you didn't think we knew that the Sixers play tonight? I said, okay, you know, that's good for you. He was like, yeah, but you're missing out on the film ministry. They'll go entertain a bunch of worldly guys. I said, that ain't even the case at all, but since you're on that time, I'm just going to let you have it. And with that, you know what I mean, I left. But it just was always amusing. You know, I've been a hoops enthusiast since I soared into human existence. So, I don't know what to say. I remember I used to get in trouble when I was a kid. I would bring my basketball cards and little figures to the meetings and show them off to my little homies after the game. But it was just always something. Oh, if you knew the Bible the way you know basketball history, then you'd be a ministerial servant by now. Or you could be in Bethel by now if you took the ministry serious the way you treat going to them Sixer games. It was just amusing. I'm trying to, before I wrap this video up, I'm trying to think, is there any more funny scenarios? I think that might be it. Like I said, if you haven't done so, subscribe to the channel and check out the memorial video. I posted it back in April, and it was actually on the day. It was on April the 4th. I believe it was April the 4th. And that was the date of this year's memorial. So that's when I posted the video. You know what? Because ironically, I was on my way to a Sixers game when I recorded that video. So if you haven't done so, make sure you check out that video, and again, subscribe to the channel for further Talk to Squawk from your boy Hawk. I think that's all of the stories I said. Fortunately, going to the games didn't really interfere with too many. Oh, it's one more instance. The Circuit Assembly in 2000. I remember, matter of fact, I didn't go that day. I went the following week when another congregation went. That's what happened, but I didn't get any flack for that because I had stayed at my pop's that weekend, and I was only like 16 at the time. Because me, my pop, and my brother, we had went to that game. It was a Sunday game, and it was the weekend that we had the Circuit Assembly. I remember going to the, matter of fact, yeah, I didn't even attend the Circuit Assembly that week. I had went the following week. But yeah, I think that's all the instance. And as you see, I'm still a hoops enthusiast. You know what I mean? Far removed from my Jehovah's Witness tenure. Anyway, this was your Sensational Sundays Hawks Talking Squawk. Hawk out.